together for him.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. आज हजुरहरूको सामु मलाई साह्रै अप्ठ्यारो महसुस भइरहेछ। चिकित्सा जगतका ती भेटरान मित्रहरू यहाँ हुनुहुन्छ। So much experience, so much service to the country. यहाँहरूको सामु मलाई माया गरेर बोलाउनु, त्यसको गम्भीरता पनि मैले बुझेछु। तर सोचियो यो अवसरलाई सदुपयोग गरेर केही सिक्न र बुझ्न पाइनेछ। So I feel a very immense sense of gratitude. In my life, I respect three types of people very profoundly. मैले एउटा चाहिँ टिचर र प्रोफेसर लेक्चररप्रति एकदमै भित्री आत्मादेखि जहिले पनि एकदम सम्मान छ। उहाँहरूले मिलन गरेर पनि देशमा योगदान दिन्छ। दोस्रो, मैले सधैँ एकदमै आत्माभित्रैबाट जहिले पनि सम्मान निस्किने भाव भनेको पेसा भनेको चिकित्सा जगत। चिकित्सा यस्तो विषय जहाँ चाहिँ लाइफ रियली म्याटर्स। त्यो बेलाको आफ्नो केयरिङ सबै कुरा फरक भएको छ। म जहाँ मेरो संसारमा डक्टर पेसाप्रति अति नै सम्मान झल्केर आउँछ। मेरो लागि यत्रो भेटरान मान्छेहरूको प्रेजेन्समा यहाँ बोलाउनु नै मलाई एकदम गौरव फिल भएको छ। तेस्रो चाहिँ म आफैलाई पनि तेस्रो मैले अलि डर मान्ने र अलि सम्मान राख्ने चाहिँ ड्राइभरको हो। यो बाटो नभएको देशमा ड्राइभरको बडा डेन्जर छ। तर म जहिले पनि ड्राइभर पेसाप्रति एकदम सम्मान राख्छु र गरेर हिँड्छु। With this, please allow me to say a few words. I've been told that there are distinguished participants from various countries as well. First of all, my warm greetings to the Nepal Society of Surgeons, Honorable President of the Committee, very distinguished professors, surgeons, and very senior people here. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the birthplace of Buddha. I feel but when we go deeper, Buddhism has a very profound journey. What Buddha did as a single teacher was he ignited a new way of thinking. He became a magnet for people all over, right all the way from Himalayas to the southern seas. And him being a prince and giving all up and going to explore what humanity is all about, it attracted all the best minds all over India. He ignited a new path, which was about investigating life. You see, it is believed that Buddha has taught 84,000 teachings. Actually, 82,000 statements are from Buddha. 2,000 it is believed are from his disciples. But if you go to the culmination of that, what is he really trying to say? Buddha says very clearly, he says, to summarize all of my teaching, I want to understand what is the cause of human suffering. We know this very famous story. Buddha's first guru, first teacher, Buddha was a sick person. As a young prince, when he was going outside the Kapilavastu palace, he saw a very sickly man suffering from terminal disease. And he came to know that all our luxury, all our facilities are helpless to support him. That, it is believed, ignited a new pattern of thinking in Buddha's mind that is beyond rituals, that is beyond the palace and the power and whatnot. He began to think what life is really like. Well, we all know this story. What Buddha brought to the whole milieu of spiritual dialogue in this entire region. You see, Buddha didn't emerge, he was not an accident. Before Buddha, There were waves of investigations here. Of course, we know about the Vedas and so forth. We know about the Puranas. But there was a very profound phase known as Upanishad Kal. There was a generation of people who were seers, who were seekers, rishis we call them. Buddha's own father, he was a disciple of one of the very famous disciples of sage Kapila. They were profoundly versed in Sankhya philosophy and so forth. All of this was going on and Buddha came. I am of a profound faith that Buddhist teaching can complement any profession. Among all, especially medicine, it has profound implication. Beauty of Buddha is that he had a very radical approach that did not exist before him. There are very basic suttas, and when I used to read it, first we just recite. But when you distill it, when you remove the cultural wording, when you remove the Pali and Sanskrit, and try and understand what is it really saying. This is what is a human being. It divides. A human being can be understood in two ways. Nama and Rupa. The physical body made out of matter and so forth. And then the mind. It's a very primary observation. Any child can say, any Upanishad can talk about it. The Buddha goes a little deeper. He doesn't say, okay, here's the philosophy about mind. Mind came from God or came from here. He says, okay, what is mind? How do we investigate? So he divides further, he dissects it. He says, mind seems more like a process. There is no chitta or atma, but it's a process. It's a process of thing. So he divides sensation. We call it Vedana. That is the first function of mind. If there is sensation, then the second function starts, recognition, perception. When there is sensation, we can recognize it, perceive it. That's the second faculty of mind. Conditioning, the ability to remember and recall things, sankhara. And then the base of it all, the vijnana, consciousness. He says that mind is not one thing, but it's the process of all this. And he says that sometimes something can break down. He talks about this in Sutta. Something can break down, for example, Vedana can break down. That we may not be able to sense anything. What happens then? The mind is still there, the conscious part is there, but the cognition goes away, perception goes away. These are dangerous teachings. If we investigate, first thing it takes out all the faith out of spirituality. It makes you a questioner. Because before that we had the comfort of the mother's teaching. Mothers, what do? It's alright, come under my wing. So our ancestors, they often comforted us that okay, believe in the soul and then the God is protecting you, everything is protected you, don't worry. Buddha takes it all out. Further in his teachings, he goes very deep actually. There are teachings known as Abhidharma. In there, he analyzes mind and mental factors. He says, what are emotions? He talks about, for example, love. Normally, in our modern world, there is only one word for love, and it's so confusing. We monks were so afraid to use the word even love. Someone may understand it wrongly. But in Buddhism, there are more than 35 words to describe love. The love I feel for my mother, love I feel for my students, love I feel for my teachers. They all have slightly varied degrees of other associated. For example, a student describing their profession, and they talk about love. There might be other side files attached to that. That profession was a little rude to me, but now, anyway, I still love you. That memory is there. Or that profession was so strict, or maybe reverence attached to it. Buddhism talks about it. There is a spectrum of ideas. Our tragedy was that so much began occurring. I believe wisdom and knowledge doesn't happen once. Rather, it's a culmination. An institutional framework behind it helps explore. What we learn today, it does come out from our forefathers. Similarly, Buddhism also, the accumulation of wisdom. When Buddha taught his disciples, they had a lot to begin working with. And Buddha was very clear before he died away. There is a beautiful sutta I would encourage you to read. It's called Mahaparinibbana Sutta. It helps to understand what Buddha was like a human being. It talks about when Buddha was on a deathbed, his breathing was so hard now. Monks asked one question, a very important one. When you're a very famous leader as a Buddha, and you have 10 million disciples all over India, emperors and kings, you ask the final question. So they ask, okay, who will be the next Mathadis after you? Who will be the next Sangha leader when you pass away? Buddha says, there is no one. There is no one after me. There is no Guru Parampara. And open everything. Everyone is a teacher of their own. He elaborates it in the sutta called Kalama Sutta. He says, do not believe anything just because it comes. Investigate, including Buddhism. In a very short time, I try and not. I make a personal oath in my life that 2-3 things I will be very sincere with. One is that in religion, spiritually, especially in India and Nepal, we have so much. There is no English word to describe this word, so I'll say it in Nepali. Nepali language excels on it. It's called Adambara. We have so much hypocrisy when it comes to spirituality. Because, again, spirituality is a cultural institution as well. So I made one oath in my life, that life is so short, I will not do any hypocrisy in my life. I will not do anything that is part of Adambara. I have to stay focused. I have to follow what's real. That promise I made. So I try, whenever I normally do not teach. But when I come here, I make a repetition to myself that I will not quote a text. I will not repeat a book. I will not try and just throw at you what you have heard everything. I try and share my own investigation with them. I really believe that the modern century, modern time, is slowly gearing towards cusp of a breakthrough, a major breakthrough that will change things leaps and bounds. What took medicine 200 years to grow and evolve and learn, in the next 2 decades, things will leap in such a way. I strongly believe that the right time is coming slowly. If we do not interrupt it with all these crazy wars all over the world, if we do not lose our focus, slowly modern medicine, modern knowledge is reaching towards that junction where the great understanding of human life can begin. And I have great faith. Past 20 years of investigation, I have developed this very sincere understanding that meditative, contemplative practices all over the world, among them Buddhism carries the banner itself, will have a lot to contribute. They can advise. There was so much knowledge built. Only sadness that occurred in Buddhism was that all the institutional growth that was happening, great academias that were growing, they were cut in a very rapid pace. The whole of northern India, Bengal, Nepal, it was all devastated. So much was lost. Even in Kathmandu some time ago, there is an old vihara, for example, near Thane. Two other families worship it, that's their ancestral shrine. There is a statue posed. There is another vihara in Patan somewhere, where a great Pandita from Bengal lived. We venerate, we worship their statues, but it took me 15 years of research and going all the way to Stanford to understand that he actually wrote 15 texts in his life. He wrote 15 books. One of them, how to remove breathing issues. Now we worship him as a guru. We offer him rice and whatnot in pattern. But he actually wrote a text on how to remove breathing irregularities. And he says that this is a meditation. Everyone's breathing pattern is very different. Someone may have abnormal breathing, and he relates that it can have so much with the mind. We lost it all. I believe that the modern time slowly will help to realize what human life, with all its flaws and faults, what is it about? Among 2-3 things I would like to share. I think you're all waiting for dinner and so forth, so I shouldn't go on too long. But 2-3 things I would like to bring to awareness. There is a great debate, an old debate, between Buddhism and other spiritual paths. And one of the greatest debates in this Indic region. The debate is that, does the reality exist here, or is there anything else? All this great war between the Vedanta and Buddhism and so forth. This is one of the greatest debate and fight between the religion. Is spirit as a real entity independent of material world? Or is just the material world, is it? Is there no spirit at all? This is one of the greatest debates. Buddha brings a radical approach. He says the reality is co-emergent. It stays together. There is no miracle. The consciousness abides because there is this frame. This is a very different approach. That all the reality exists simultaneously together, co-emergent. There is no this or that. It's all here. Very different approach. There were so many ideas in Buddhism that great teachers after the Buddha had time to investigate, to research about it. Many are slowly coming out. Among the greatest practice that you might have heard is called vipassana. We call it mindful meditation. My journey started in Buddhism with that. I was fortunate enough that before I had to join the call to serve the meaning, not an ideal thing for a monk to do, but a call from motherland, so I had to answer it. Before this, I had the privilege to teach in Canada and associated teacher centers in New York quite a bit. So I had the good fortune for a few years to associate with some scholars. And among them, there was a wonderful surgeon, a neurosurgeon. He's among the top surgeons in the States. We did a seminar together one day in New York. And I was listening to this very wonderful veteran authority. He has been practicing Buddhism for almost 12 years. He practices meditation. And he shared in that public that when after the surgeries, when patients come for rehabilitation and follow-up, he started a process to teach them observing breath and sensation. And he says that he can clinically see that the healing, the response, the recovery, conciliation is so much better. There is another very famous scholar, Zon Kabat-Zinn, is a meditation teacher too. You might have heard about his work. He actually conducted a clinical research and proved with data that oncology patients, cancer patients, the pain was reduced without too much medicine, just because of acceptance, witnessing, and a state of equanimity. Slowly, these are all emerging out. There are other profound teachers. There was a wonderful teacher. Again, we do the same mistake. They call him, if you go to a Tibetan monastery, you will see a statue that looks a little bit crazy. They call him Naropa. He was an Indian philosopher, a teacher, a principal at Nalanda University. He authored and taught so many practices. He teaches a technique. He says that our body, he talks very clearly, he says that our body has so many infinite numbers of channels. He says very clearly that we are sensitive organ. He calls it like a fine jala. In metaphor, we call it Indrajala. We have so much capillaries in our body that can cover the cosmos, he says. And he says that we are a living, breathing mechanism. And he told to practice. Many have been lost, few have been preserved. I had the privilege to meet some scholars who practice this, where you can totally raise your own body temperature. It's called Tumo. Please Google it. Some of you might have heard it. It's nothing much. It's really conscious understanding and focusing and bringing awareness and a breathing technique. And activates all the nerve channels. And because of that, the temperature starts rising. It's very clinically tested. But in his text, he says that this is not miracle medicine. Be careful. Sometimes generating heat could be good, sometimes bad. They have these clinical approaches. So much is still in Buddhism, but it was sadly shrouded under the banner of religion. I think the time is coming when we can understand what Buddha said. Buddha said that for a proper well-being of a person, a total well-being, this is in primary sutras, suffering is a truth. Dukkha arya satya. That means we cannot run away from never getting sick. The body is such, things will emerge. But by observing it, by understanding, by being with it as it goes through process, Buddha says that for proper well-being, emotional approach also plays a role. How we respond to tragedy, how we reconcile with it, has a direct impact. Again, that co-emergent reality. How our body is suffering has an impact on our mind. But Buddha says, how we approach it with our mind has a reverse impact. It impacts our body as well. Now this is the junction we are talking about. That in future, I encourage to think about it, to explore. And especially this needs to be brought into mainstream to understand what are the functions of meditation and so forth. You have probably heard about the ongoing research works, especially Washington University in the States. And in some way they study. They have been studying for the last 5 years only brain waves of meditators. A wonderful project. Just observing the brain waves when people are meditating. They can map out what does love feel like when you have that emotion. What does anxiety feel like. These are wonderful research. These are helping us to understand the power of emotion, the power of mind. I think this will be very helpful. I am really hopeful that for a properly sound human being, modern medicine, with combination and understanding the impact that the emotions, mental state, our cultural and social environment has on our well-being, by combining these two together, it will help us understand what a totally healthy human being is about. And I think the future generations slowly, with the breakthrough in technology, with the breakthrough of brainwaves happening, for example, so much is going to emerge. So I congratulate the next 20 years of future scholars to come. Last but not least, I would also like to acknowledge and express my gratitude for all of you for serving the nation so much. One last thing I always add, that you see, even Dharma teachers, we have to take care of ourselves. We do not burn out. Similarly, in many medical professions, I meet, because you have to give out so much, you have to face suffering every day, grieving families and so much. Sometimes people experience burnout. Sometimes we encounter what we call compassion fatigue. You know the solution? Of course, I am a Buddhist monk, so I'm going to offer you the Buddhist solution, mindfulness meditation. Please, even if you find 10 minutes, 5 minutes, then the technique, especially the Vaishnav gurus, the doctors, they need it. When you practice it, your joy and peace will go on serving many more people. So with these words, I would like to take my leave. And once again, thank you very much.
Thank you Thank you so much. Now, moving on, I would like to request our chairperson and president of Society of Surgeons of Nepal, Professor Dr. Sunil Kumar Sarma Dhakal sir, to hand over token of